So how I did my 21 SI swap on this, I tried multiple things. If you haven't tried to diagnose your alternator, obviously that's going to be the cheapest option and the fastest. The wires, I'm sure one of these is for the hour meter, one of these small wires that come through here. The one that's bolted to the body, I got two of these trucks, and one truck had this style and the other truck had this style. They're almost identical, but the voltage increase on this one is here, and then the ground was over here on this, and then the power was here, and then this went out and plugged in just like this one does, and then it had another one. I believe it's for the tack. I'm not sure which one of these small ones is for, or not the tack, the hour meter. At any rate, so the wire that bolts back here under this, there's a cover here that says disconnect the battery before you take it apart. Yeah, here it is. This one was for this one, so this is how this one looks. This one has a similar cover, it's just a little bit different. I did try to mess with this voltage adjustment right here. You see it has an arrow and it'll say volts increase, or increase volts. So you're gonna just follow the arrow. It doesn't really look like there's an arrow, but both alternators have a little arrow on there. This one had a Phillips head, and then this one is a flat head in here, and you can see that the arrow is very, very faint on the back of the arrow, but it does say counterclockwise to increase volts. So I messed with that and nothing. I get nothing out of here. I check everything else. I bought the trucks. I bought this truck the way that it is, and you know, it sat on the owner's property for a long time and all this. So quick research. My options were, there's a place in town that'll rebuild these. I don't know how much it costs, but I've heard it's a metric ton. You got to give up one of your firstborn children or something like that to get these military units rebuilt. And this one is from this other truck, and it actually burned up the insulation on the inside. So this alternator is completely cooked. When they rebuild the alternator, they don't actually rebuild the windings of the alternator. They're rebuilding the governor and the alternator and the diodes. There's diodes in there that rectify it AC into DC. So there's a generator with a rectifier, and then it turns it into AC. Anyway, so they rebuild the internals of that circuitry, but not burned up coils. So, or burned up windings. This one, the windings aren't burned up, but whatever. Let's get on to the swap that I did, the 21 SI swap. So this is from that whatever marine place. You can get them on Amazon. They're $120. Don't mind this bolt. I didn't know what size it was, or this stud. I didn't know what size it was, so I'm just testing it out right now for this bar length. I'll get into that later. But I got to get another bolt. It does work like it is. So there's a 21 SI. I'll post the part numbers for everything I used in the description. This truck is a 923 A2 cargo truck, not anything special, just your run-of-the-mill. You know, it usually has like the backrest and then the bows and the tarp that go on top. There's nothing unique or special. This isn't anything. This is exactly like it comes when you buy it, you know, from the military or whatever. This hasn't been redone in any kind of way. So with the 21 SI, I did end up, and I'll climb up here, I did end up buying this conversion bracket right here. Like I said, I'll post the part numbers. I do not recommend buying this from the cheap one on Amazon. I made it work, but the holes weren't drilled on center, and who knows if I'll have alignment problems in the future. I did have to put two washers here on this side to slightly move the alternator this way, more forward. So I was initially going to put them back here, but then it didn't line up at all. It was way too far back by like I said, 2 washers. So anyways, but this bracket does work with the 21 SI. It's just that this is a little chintzy one right here. So just get the quality one. The wiring, like I said, that's the one that plugs into the original alternator. And this is the one, I believe, you bolt on to R right there. Not 100% sure, so don't do it unless you do some homework. But the R is an AC signal out for the hour counter. Okay, so your tack or your miles will still work, I believe, but the hour meter right here is what goes to the R. This prong right here is for a number 1 right here is for a 12 volt tap, I believe. I haven't probed it, but you'll see it'll be pretty obvious that the big tap right here is for power, and that one's for ground. It says GRD on it, and that one says BAT. So you have R, BAT, and 1. You're gonna go take your ground lead from the other alternator right here, and you're going to ground it, and then the other big wire goes to BAT. That's it. That's all you need to make this run, which I love because it's super simple and I love simple shit. That's why I have one of these trucks. So for the bar, I looked up somebody online, okay, because this has to be longer than the factory one. For the bar, I ended up doing 10.5 inches eye to eye, or center to center on the bolt holes. That ended up working really well, and I'll climb my ass up there again. You can see that the tensioner is right in the middle. That's what you want. So not everybody really kind of talks about that. You want your tensioner right in the middle of its throw. So you can see this is a stop here, and this is a stop for here. You go too far one way or the other, then you're not in the middle, and you don't have as much free play one way or the other. So you want the tensioner right in the middle. And for this alternator with this bracket on this is an 8.3 turbo. It ended up being 10.5 inches center to center on the eye. The one eye for the alternator is a little bit bigger. You're just gonna have to get a bolt like I did and drill it out until it fits. And then the one in there is a little bit smaller. Yeah, you can use the factory bar, because this is exactly what they have. They just have a bar like this. I use 3/8 bar stock. I think that's about it on that. The pulley, I was a little apprehensive about the pulley part number because there's like 4 different pulley part numbers, and they're like a 65, a 67, a 70, a whatever. I figured the smaller pulley would work the best because I've seen and I've read and done a lot of research on this alternator swap on these trucks, and it seems like some guys have to get the truck to rev a little bit initially, and that just tells me that the alternator's not spinning fast enough initially, because these idle at like 450 RPM. They're idling low. So what I did was, I believe that this pulley is the 64 or 63, or you know, somewhere in there size range. I'll throw the part number up, but I did end up buying everything on Amazon. The part numbers were the same no matter what. This pulley bolt torques on. I've got it torqued on at 70 foot-pounds. I looked it up. It's 70 to 80 foot-pounds to torque it on. But idle, this thing puts out 28 volts. So I know we're spinning the alternator at the right speed because it should just put out 28 volts right off the get. So yeah, I mean, that's what I did for my 21 SI swap. I think altogether maybe 160 bucks for everything. The bracket on the top was 20 bucks. The pulley was like 25 bucks, and the alternator was 120, plus tax and shipping. So 160 bucks, pretty good deal. I made this bar length and drilled it, and that was it. That's all you do for this bottom bar. So yeah, this, just be wary that you're potentially gonna have to put washers on one side or the other. All you do on that is when you get the alternator bolted up with just these two top ones, put a straight edge right here and line it up with the next pulley as best you can. Either the water pump pulley or this tensioner pulley or something, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be perfect because these pulleys have different widths on the lip over here. But you'll see if this thing is like trying to point this way, you're like, okay, well, what happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? And mess around with it. And that's how I figured out that this bracket was a little bit not straight. So I did have to like straighten it and work it and that kind of shit. This bracket up here, it's just not good. Just get the quality one. You know, I figured they were all built in the same place, but they're really not. Yeah, just don't even with this cheap bracket. That's my only like real big problem with this whole swap, was that like I said, the eyelets were not drilled on center, so I had to go out and drill these out bigger to get them to bolt up. And then when I put it on, it was like it moved the alternator facing in. I was like, oh man, here we go. So you know, that means that this drilling and this drilling, because they're not one bar all the way across, these two drillings are not aiming at each other, is what that means perfectly. So I had to finesse it a little bit to get it to point straight and get it to point at, you know, straight on the pulleys and stuff like that. But you know, if you look down the side of the pulley, it's aimed right at the other pulleys. So straight now and good. The bar, I've seen anything, people do shorter. The factory bar eye to eye is like 7-ish inches, 7 1/16 eye to eye, or center to center on the bolt holes. I ended up doing 10.5, and that worked great. That's how this is right now. Like I said, the tensioner is right in the middle. The belt tension is really good. And it doesn't have any skipping issues or anything. So anyways, if you guys have any questions, put it down in the comments. I'll try and get to them as best I can. Yeah, let me know if I didn't cover anything. It's pretty simple. You can do it in about an hour or two. Making that bar is probably the shittiest part, but you know, whatever. It's not really that big of a deal to make that bar or to just drill 2 holes. Yeah, that's all I can think of.